We will reconvene the Board of Curators meeting, and we will begin with the Academic, Student, and External Affairs Committee. Curator Snowden.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. You got Steve Conor is going to make a presentation to start.
Curator Snowden, thank you. So before we begin, I thought I would share with the group. Here we go. That's a selfie with the third place finishing softball team from the Legislative Day softball tournament last night. And we had Oral Hershiser Burnett on the mound. And what you're looking at is a bunch of students. And let me just say that it's really good when you have a bunch of young college students helping you play the softball game against senators and others. The bad thing about it is that when you're playing the speaker's team for third place, they haven't really figured out you're supposed to let the speaker win. And so I would like to just make sure that if our budget is cut, that everybody knows that David Stillman's son hit 2 home runs in that game last night.
A complete disaster.
So let me just start out by saying that at the last board meeting I shared with you that we want to communicate with one unified voice, a strong message, to tell our great story as the University of Missouri system. And we've pulled together a lot of information to have a unified voice, and I believe we're making progress. Collectively, how are we, the University Relations team, how are we doing that? By building trust and confidence, support of the strategic plan and the progress there, becoming a national leader. Obviously, the building the trust and confidence is being accountable, transparent, and fiscally responsible, supporting our strategic plan by leveraging our resources, increasing collaboration and advocating for the University of Missouri system, and becoming a national leader in diversity and inclusion by supporting the board's initiatives. So how are we going to do that? By internal and external messaging, proactive approach to our statewide media, and a strategic advocacy approach overall. Internally, we've been sharing the messages with faculty, staff, and students, and retirees through emails, blog posts, meetings, as well as updates from all 4 campuses. Through our external avenues, we're broader constituents, our alumni, donors, and citizens. And to our elected officials, we have a strategic plan and approach on our messaging that I think is clearly beginning to work. As we continue communicating our diversity to our internal campuses and our audiences, there became a clear need for education to all of our university groups. There was an obvious disconnect between the roles of the system and the campuses. And for that reason, we began working on a video that illustrated how the UM system works in terms of structure, describing the role of the president and the responsibilities of the campus leaders. This video was shared with a diversity task force and the board secretary when making campus visits to the students recently. Another way was with our campus alumni extension leadership council, which just had their inaugural meeting, and also at the Missouri 100 fall meeting. It was also shared with the broader campus communities during the presidential search and the open forums. The structured video has been very well received and a positive feedback all around. To date, we have completed videos on the structure and the budget, with releases of governance, mission, and history of the 4-campus system and leadership yet to come this month. We plan 12 in all videos by September. Our proactive media continues to be one of the most efficient ways to get our message out statewide. Since my last report, we've submitted 12 op-eds that have run in both Kansas City and St. Louis papers, as well as outstate papers like the Joplin Globe, Southeast Missourian, Kirksville Daily Express, and others. They share the values of the UM system, specifically target the location where the op-ed ran to highlight the number of students attending from that county, the number of alumni that have graduated from that area, and have come back to the community to work. These publications, along with our other key messages, support the University of Missouri and have been shared with campus alumni groups so that then they can find alumni to support our message as well. You may have seen this ad recently. This is another example of outreach through a series of ads funded by the Missouri 100. The ads were published 3 weeks straight with 34 small daily newspapers around the state for a total of 102 ads. This is an example of an ad that was in the Sedalia Democrat, Curator Cups. I'm pretty sure that was also in the Berry County World Herald. This approach served two purposes: to remind Missouri citizens that even during challenging times, the university's service to the state never stopped, and also to solicit participation in the 4 presidential search open forums hosted on each of the campuses. Another effective way to tell the university's stories to our elected officials is to let the students tell it to them directly. On March the 15th, we had 54 students exhibit their research projects to the Missouri legislature. 24 from MU, 19 from Missouri S&T, 9 from UMKC, and 2 students from UMSL. We distributed those back to hometown releases to each of the students' area. Again, this is kind of a two-pronged approach: to provide recognition for both the students and the legislators, and also to let the communities statewide realize the value of education and research experiences our campuses are providing to our students. Next, we want to capitalize on the relationships built from the 30 Show Me Value Tour visits around the state and begin to reach back out to the radio audiences so we can begin those relationships again in towns like Springfield, St. Joe, Cape Girardeau, just to name a few. President Middleton has already been on KMOX recently in the last couple of weeks, and so we've begun to exercise that. In 2007, MU economics professors Ron Hartstad and Joe Haslag published a report that looked at the economic impact of the University of Missouri system. They conducted this same report this year that solidifies the value that the UM system and its 4 campuses bring to the state from an economic vitality standpoint. The highlights include Missouri's economic growth rate is 25% bigger due to the UM system's R&D efforts. Second, the aggregate income would decline if the UM system stopped educating students. Over a generation, or 25 years, the more educated workforce in Missouri is worth $252 billion in extra gross domestic product. At the current level, state appropriations account for more than 30% of UM system expenditures. Continuing at current funding levels, Missouri's investment in the UM system will result in an economic impact of roughly $9.5 billion annually. And $1 spent on the UM system from the state equals $38.03 in goods and services, or $1.46 in extra general revenue funds. Again, the Missouri 100 commissioned this and generously funded this report. It's just another way that our supporters have been willing to pitch in and help out. And I personally want to thank Dudley McCarter, Tom Turner, and Richard Miller of the Missouri 100 Tri-Chairs for this effort. Another strong example of this constituency support was displayed in a letter to the editor published in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. The newly formed Intercampus Alumni and Extension Leadership Council submitted a letter to the editor that cited the recent survey, which was sponsored by 10 newspapers statewide, that reported that 80% of Missouri citizens are in favor of keeping the UM system funding at the same level or increasing the funding rather than cutting the funding. The collaboration between the UM system, that's 4 campuses, and alumni, along with the Extension Council and leadership, should be commended, and I also want to thank them for their efforts. From before the start of the session, we have had a strategic approach and advocacy for system-wide. With the great collaborations by our legislative liaisons, we've been able to make more than 40 visits with the university leadership so far this legislative session. And pretty much probably half of this room, if not more, has been to the Capitol. We also had incredible attendance, more than 400 participants at our legislative day. And pairing these visits with the incredible outreach from our friends groups and alumni to Extension has all helped get the message to our elected officials. With the budget going into conference this week, we're encouraged by the support. We are hopeful that we will have positive news in the near future on the budget negotiations. And to the Board of Curators, to the past Board of Curators, to the general officers sitting here, and to all of the hardworking team members that are in the Capitol on a daily basis, I want to say thank you. It's been everybody who's put their time and effort in. So whether it's been from a media side of things, both on free or paid, the student side, the alumni, or faculty and staff, leadership of the University of Missouri, we're all using the tools in our toolkit to get the message out. One of the President's goals has been to become a national leader of diversity and inclusion, and President Middleton has been asked to participate in panels of keynote speakers of national events like the American Council of Education, White House Education Secretariat, the National Association of Diversity Officers in Higher Education, the National Association of System Heads, and AGB. He's also been featured in the Chronicle of Higher Education and the National Press Club in DC in June. It's safe to say many of higher education circles nationally are looking to the University of Missouri and to President Middleton for leadership. Next, I just want to touch on the budget. The state budget picture currently right now at the end of March is running at 4.2% growth, so strong growth this year. Our projected budget that was put together with the governor was running at 4.1%. The House was at 3.1% when they put their budget together, and the Senate at 4.1%. I'll just point out that with all of this, there's about $380 million from Medicaid expansion and payments that have to be considered into this budget. And so it's one of the things, it's been a recurring theme that I put before the board, that Medicaid does take up a lot of the growth in the budget whenever the legislative body is considering our budget. In conference this week, the budget is moving through. They've started conference and having some discussions. There's been no formal process that's begun on that. We expect that to start on Monday. I would just say that currently the target date is for April the 22nd to have the budget complete. There's a reason for that. If it's done, the governor has 15 days during session to sign that budget. And so that would put it basically completed at May the 7th. That would give the body a week of session left to override the governor's veto, and that it seems to be their current tact as far as their timeline. We can expect performance funding from 6% in the Senate to 0 in the House, so anywhere in between there. We're obviously hopeful for the upper end of that. Our Core budget could be cut anywhere from 8.6 to $1 million, and so we're working hard with all of our conferees to hopefully come up with those positive numbers. Our government relations team is tracking 207 bills that could have an impact on the University of Missouri at this point in time. I've just put a few up here before you. SCR 66 is the University of Missouri Commission. It was passed by the Senate and is awaiting a hearing in the House Government Oversight and Accountability. We expect that to be heard next Monday. The Senate also put $750,000 in the appropriations to execute this commission. So we're waiting to see on that. There's the degree duplication legislation, and that has been essentially moved out of the building. The Speaker of the House has asked all of the players in the Department of Higher Education to bring together a task force to look at how we can bring higher education, not just the 4 years, but also the 2 years together to look at the future of higher education and how we deliver our programs more effectively. Conceal and carry is clearly there's been several versions. It's one of the things that's on the list that we're certainly watching. There's been nothing that's moved at this point in time, but it's one of those things that we certainly want to watch here in the last few weeks of session to see where that ends up. And then the faculty workload legislation has not had a hearing. There's been a task force that we've had internally to work on that issue. We've taken that back, begin to have some of those discussions with some of the legislators on the efforts that we are making. Filing deadline is come and gone. It closed on March the 29th. So the races are set for next year. Come next January, we'll have a new governor, we'll have a new lieutenant governor, attorney general, treasurer, secretary of state. In the August primaries, could see some very interesting races. So we're going to have new leadership politically in this state come next year. Also in the Senate, there are 17 seats up in the Senate this year, including 12 where incumbents are running again. 5 senators are term limited out. So we'll have a new appropriations chair as Kurt Schaefer is termed. We'll also have a new education chair as Senator David Pierce is termed out. In the House, we have all 163 seats that are up. 20 members are termed out, and 9 additional House members, incumbents, are not running. So we'll have 29 new House members at a minimum. I should say at a minimum in all of these areas. Many of the House seats have no opponents. 66 Republicans have no opponents, and 30 Democrat seats are already decided. So we'll have a new select committee on the budget in the House as well, as Tom Flanagan is the chair and he is term limited out. So finally, in conclusion, I would just like to say that, again, our goal is to have a unified voice with a strong message and a great story, and I think we've been able to execute on that over the last few months. I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
Chairman, if I might just have a couple of
Senator
comments.
Steelman.
One, I want to congratulate you and everybody who has been working on this for the success in the Senate. I think that number was about $30 million. I'm just doing that by memory. 25 to 30 million more in the Senate than was in the House.
Yes.
Which I think, if I can remember, if Ms. Stuck is here, she was talking about we made some changes that I think all of us hated to make to retiree insurance benefits, because the contribution next year would be about 33 million. Did I remember that right? Is she here? And you translated that, I think, again by memory, into 660 jobs, $1,200 per paycheck. So if you extrapolate that, the success of your team in the Senate, if that were to be held in the conference, would be equal to about 600 jobs and about $1,000, a little over that, in every University of Missouri employee's paycheck, which is not insignificant. I think it's important to thank you. I also think it's important for the university community, not just the administration, but this includes faculty specifically and students to be grateful for those actions and efforts, and I hope that they can be held in conference committee. But in particular, you and everybody who worked on it, I appreciate your efforts, and the whole system should, and every campus should. I also wanted to say one thing about the commission, because I've taken to reading the Columbia Tribune again after several years absent from it, and it's always informational, and I looked at some comments, and I'm looking at a John Darkow comic, which seems to indicate that Senator Schaefer's act and the passing of this in the Senate is somehow negative. And I want to say I don't view it that way at all. I think that if they are willing to give us the gift of $750,000, which will relieve, Steve, I think you'll be glad that we're not asking you and the General Counsel's office to undertake a review of our collected regulations. That is, in my mind, completely positive. I know that everybody on the board is very tired of my harping on the need to look at our collected rules and regulations. I think there are at least some curators who agree with me. But if the people whose names I hear are appointed to that commission to look at our collected rules and regulations, look at some issues where we are far behind other leading universities like Virginia and Michigan, such as post-tenure review, reviewing our faculty responsibility, things like that, it is a tremendous benefit and could be a tremendous benefit to the system. And I believe that we should actually hope that it passes the House, that I think we should set up a very close liaison with them, and I hope that that's in the efforts and works. And then, again, I do want to say that in my mind, faculty should not be worried. I would hope anything that comes out, we will also vet with faculty, but it is a gift that has been given to us.
Thanks, Curator Stillman, and I would say that I think that this board has had the opportunity to express to say we take good ideas no matter where they come from. At the same point in time, the board is going to retain the right to implement the good ideas, and the ones that don't fit, I'm sure the board will retain the right to not implement those. And so
Exactly.
I think as we work through this is the best we probably
Well,
can
and I
afford.
think we'll be calling our faculty and asking them for their input too, and others.
Are there other questions? Steve, I would like to say that, you know, we started in a hole at the start of this session, and certainly we've come a long way, and we've all seen that progress. And I do think that we owe, the curators certainly in the state owes a debt of gratitude to the president and 4 chancellors that have been down to Jeff City, and Mac Rhodes, our athletic director. Brian Burnett, I know, has made a great impression down there. And there are others along with that. I'm not going to name everybody, but certainly I think the chancellors deserve a lot of credit and have told the story very well to the legislature. So I'm certainly pleased with that and the work that you're doing.
Curator Snowden, I couldn't agree more, and I just would say sometimes when you get tested, you come out on the other side a little bit better. I think, quite frankly, the chancellors have been more engaged this year, and the general officers in a great way, and I hope we can keep that model going, because I think it's a good model for us to follow.
Thank you very much. Madam Chairman, we do have a couple action items, and we have 2 degrees proposals to be looked at. And the first, and we'll call on Dr. Stephen Graham to come up and present those. The first one is a Master of Science and Applied Behavior Analysis at MU.
Okay, good afternoon. We have 2 really good programs that I'm excited about today. As he mentioned, the first one is a Master of Science in Applied Behavior Analysis. This is a program that will train people to work with autistic spectrum disorders. It's a program that's gotten a lot of attention in the last few years because it's had so much success, people that are trained and certified. We have the wonderful luxury at MU to have the Thompson Autism Center, which is a world-class facility. And so this proposal has been put forward in collaboration with them and also with the College of Education. The School of Health Professions will be the home for this program. Very well designed by Dr. Sung-Woo Kang, who's one of the leading specialists in this area that was recruited from Johns Hopkins. So we have really mapped this out. I think this is a real need because we've seen a dramatic increase in those students that have been identified with autism spectrum disorders. I know when we put a program together a couple years ago to try to provide a number of mental health professionals in the field, that was one of the areas where we really struggled because there weren't enough programs. So this is, I'm surprised we haven't had it before, given the talent that's there. This is also, the School of Health Professions has a really good track record in programs that they've put forward the last few years and have ended up, and I think this will be another example of that. There's a real shortage of these folks. It's a well-designed plan. It's a full pay masters, which means that they'll be able to pay for the program about the 3rd year through with the number of people, and I think they'll have no shortage of people who are applying for the program. So we highly recommend this program to you for approval, and if you have any questions, I'll be happy to address them.
Any questions with Dr. Graham?
I would move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Cindy, call the roll.
I need a second from somebody on the committee. Sorry, Curator Graham.
Okay. I've been making a lot of seconds today. I can second another one.
Good.
All right, Curator Stillman seconds. All right, Curator Cups.
Yes.
Especially obvious.
Curator Phillips.
Yes.
Curator Snowden.
Yes?
Curator Steelman.
Yes.
Okay, all committee votes in favor. You want a motion to the board?
So we need a motion for the for the whole board on approval. Do I hear a motion?
I'll second.
Got it. It's been moved and seconded. Cindy, call the roll.
Curator Cups.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
Curator Henriksen.
Yes.
Curator Phillips.
Yes.
Curator Snowden?
Yes.
Curator Steelman?
Yes.
All votes in favor.
Now, I'll ask Dr. Graham to review the second proposal, which is a Bachelor of Arts, Film, and Media Arts at UMKC.
Great. Again, and I had mentioned this to Curator Snowden coming up here, I think that our programs are smarter and crisper than they were in the past, and I really want to compliment the campuses. I think this is another really great idea. What this program is basically, this exists as an emphasis area in the program of communication studies now, and they're finding that a lot of students really are getting into the film production part because of the stuff that you see on the web, whether it's in advertising, and there's just much more media presence. And so they would like to design a more rigorous program where instead of 33-hour program, it's a 56-hour program. They'll get a lot more actual media instruction and working with companies in the city. It fits really well with their, with the conservatory and the other performing arts in the Kansas City area. And so basically, this is a program that they can offer with no additional faculty or change in facilities. What they'll do is they'll just break it out as has been an emphasis area or minor into a full-blown program, prepare the students better, and also then have them present a degree that's more of a professional degree. So it's really a no-cost program, truly. There'll be a couple faculty that'll teach one extra studio course, but they're happy to do that because they feel that they'll have a really regional class program. Good support letters from the surrounding community in terms of people that are interested in applying and employing people like that. So I think, once again, this is a program that we heartily recommend to you.
Are there any questions of Dr. Graham?
Chairman, I would move approval of the program.
I hear a second. Did you second it, David?
I did.
You
No,
didn't?
I told Curator Cups I was beginning to feel used.
I'll second the motion.
Curator Cups?
Yes.
Curator Phillips?
Yes.
Curator Snowden?
Yes.
Curator Steelman?
Yes.
All committee votes in favor.
Now, I'll make the motion that we approve the proposal for the Bachelor of Arts, Film, and Media Arts at UMKC. Is there a second?
Second.
All the roll, Cindy.
Curator Cups?
Yes.
Curator?
Yes.
Curator Henriksen?
Yes.
Curator Phillips?
Yes.
Curator Snowden?
Yes.
Curator Steelman?
Yes.
All votes in favor.
Hearing no other discussion, I would make a motion that we adjourn the Committee on Academic, Student, and External Affairs. Got a second?
Last time I seconded it, you said you didn't need a second. If you need one, I second it. Do we need one? Yeah. All right, you got a second?
Call
Curator
the roll.
Cups?
Yes.
Curator Phillips?
Yes.
Curator Snowden?
Yes.
Curator Steelman?
Yes.
All votes in favor.
It now looks like it's time to convene the executive session of the audit committee. So we will be repairing to the other room.